All right, folks, here we are. We were waiting for the footage to be released from Tom DeLonge for the To the Stars Academy. Now, they set up their community of interest here that Lou Elizondo was talking about. Now, I gotta say, right off the bat, it's footage, but it's not like what I'm hoping. You know, I wanted good, clear stuff close by. This is like, we've seen like this before. But let's go ahead and play the clip. But before we get to that, I want to say that at least the media is picking it up this time, because I already seen articles from the New York Times. It landed on the front of the New York Times. So that's good. Do many people read the New York Times? Probably not. The other thing to consider here, this is Saturday, December 16th. What do you do when you want to kind of bury a story? Put it on the weekend, end of the news cycle. Now, if this was on Monday, it would kind of dominate the news cycle for the week. But I think they knew what they were doing by putting it on Saturday. And here we go. Newsweek covered it too. And then we also have Rolling Stones, which is, yeah, they cover a lot of goofy shit, whatever. And then the one I'm going to get to later is Political. So they went into detail here about it. We will cover this in a bit, but let's just go ahead and watch the video and see what it's all about. So now this is footage, official U.S. government. First of three. Now this is basically footage taken on an F-18 Super Hornet that they were tracking this unidentified aerial phenomenon. Advanced targeting forward looking infrared. So now we're going to actually hear what they're seeing as they say it, saying as they see it in real time. So it goes through the dashboard here about what everything is, which is pretty important. Got our speed or knots. And altitude.
Dude, there's a f***ing drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
It does look like fake. I don't know. It's just something about that.
Well, if there's like...
It's not.
It's rotating.
All right, that's the first one. Again, here I want to say it's like, I know they're using the advanced targeting system that they have, and I don't know anything about it, I'll admit that. But it just seems like it's always in the center, and maybe it's centering itself. I don't know anything about the technology they're using, but the way it's tracking it, it's like, I swear I could make something like this myself. I'm not saying just because I can make it that it's fake. It's just, I was hoping to see some damning footage, and yeah, this is probably an official thing. Great, you know, bring it on. I'm all for disclosure, but it just looks like it's a solid piece of crap. And then it's just sitting there, and then it finally rotates. You think you would, like, maybe they would go faster, slower, and you would get that getting bigger, and it looks like the F-18 is just constantly going like this in a circle. So then the UFO's spinning, but they're still at an angle. So it's, take it for what it is, folks. I mean, I'm definitely not impressed about it, but if this helps disclosure get out, great. I made a few highlights on this. Again, this is on the community of interest, the COI for To the Stars Academy. So I wanted to figure out the background of this. Of course, it's the Super Hornet F-18 as the advanced targeting forward looking infrared. So maybe, like I said, I didn't look anything up on that. I probably should have, but maybe it's auto-centering all the time, so it's in the center. I don't want to sit and question that, but I'm all for disclosure. And if this gets it going, great. Because like I said, now we got the New York Times covering it, Politico, all that stuff is going to start pushing it out. Great. So obviously this is getting out their way, the way they want it, the powers that be. So moving back here, again, they had to remove the date, location, other information has been removed by the originating authority as part of the release approval process. So I want to move on to the political article here. Again, this was published just today. The Pentagon, at the direction of Congress a decade ago, quietly set up a multi-million-dollar program to investigate what are popularly known as unidentified flying objects. So this was set up back in 2009 by, that was then the Majority Leader, Harry Reid. The origins of the program, the existence of which the Pentagon confirmed on Friday, so this was just confirmed yesterday, are being revealed publicly for the first time by Politico and the New York Times in nearly simultaneously reports on Saturday today. So like I said, great. Let's get this ball rolling. I know that it's being put out their way, but how else are we going to get this done? It's got to take some direction, especially from the fake news media. So again, they set up this program in 2009 to look into the UFO thing again, even though they did it way back in the 49s. To look at this because perhaps the Chinese or the Russian had developed next generation technologies that could threaten the United States. I like this right here. The revelation of the program could give credibility to boost UFO theorists. Oh, you think? We've only been looking into it for so long. Could field demands. This is why it's important for the fake news media to cover this stuff, because it could field demands for increased transparency about the scope and findings of the Pentagon effort, which focused on some of its inquiries into sci-fi sounding concepts like wormholes and warp drives. See, that's what they do. They got to release this, got to get the public ramped up about it so we can start pushing it. Makes it look like they didn't know about it, but you know damn well they did. Now, the Majority Leader Reid persuaded Robert Bigelow, I talked to him about him on here before, from Bigelow Aerospace, has spoken in recent years about his views that extraterrestrial visitors frequently travel to the Earth. He also purchased the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. So now you're tying this together with a goofy guy that came on 60 Minutes to say that aliens were real. So that's that's awesome. According to the Pentagon, the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, the AATIP program, was ended in 2012. And then it attracted the attention of Luis Elizondo, who ran the initiative. We talked about him here for the being in the To the Stars Academy project. In his resignation letter addressed to the Secretary of Defense James Mattis, Elizondo said the efforts of the program were not being taken sufficiently serious. We tried to work within the system. He also said the unidentified aerial threats were reported in the vicinity of nuclear facilities, either ships, at sea, or power plants, because they don't like us blowing each other up and can destroy the world. That affects everything out there. Okay, so now Elizondo said, but in his views, military leadership did not appear alarmed by the potential threat. So you got the military seeing UFOs hovering over our nuclear facilities or nuclear subs, and they don't consider it a threat. Because they knew it was a threat. They know what it is. They know they don't do anything. They're just there to watch it, and then if they launch one, to stop it. And then he goes on to says, if the Russian Bear bomber comes in near California, it's all over the news. They are coming in the skies over our facilities, nothing but crickets. No, if Lou wasn't in deeper in these projects, they know, they've studied them, they know what they are. Either that or he knows exactly, and he's in on it, and he's just, this is part of the thing that they're giving the news to say, hey, people, the government doesn't know what they are, but we got to get them to roll the ball here now. And then Chris Mullins says here, I think we're all frustrated by the fact that our government and society neglect some of the most interesting and provocative and potentially important issues out there. And I had Grant Cameron on here, and Chris Mellon was denying it to himself. So that's funny that that's in there now. But he's on the other side now, so he can say this. So that's all right. This is interesting here. So Politico reached out to the Pentagon spokeswoman, Dana White, and confirmed to Politico that the program exists and was run by Elizondo, but she could not say how long he was in charge of it and declined to answer any detailed questions about the office or its work, citing concerns about the closely held nature of the program. Again, that was the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. And they say it ended in 2012 because they determined there were other higher priority issues out there. What's more higher priority than having all this technology? No, it was priority for the government to have it, lock that down, and use it themselves. At taxpayer cost, of course. Okay, right here in this article, Politico, they got some were uncomfortable by the implication that the incidents involved aircraft that were not made by humans. So there you go. We got the soft disclosure here. Squeeze that in the article to try to get the public acclimated to this. And then we got Reed agreeing it was not worth continuing. They said they couldn't find anything of substance, which BS. There's all kinds of substance. And if you got that much money and resources behind you, there's substance. There was really nothing there that we could justify using taxpayer money, he added. We'll let it die a slow death. It was well spent money in the beginning. Yeah, it went into the black projects. How about that? They got this stuff. They reverse engineered it and they're using it. I want to touch on the New York Times article a little bit here because this had a couple points. They're pretty similar, but they had a couple points. So in this article, they talk about Project Blue Book, that it started in 1952. So that's good that they're going back and showing this stuff. They say right here, sightings were not often reported up the military chain of command because service members were afraid they would be laughed at or stigmatized. So there probably was a lot more reports, but they don't want to say anything. The ridicule, not to mention the higher-ups usually say, keep your mouth shut, you don't talk about this. You hear that a lot. None of the senators wanted a public debate on the Senate floor about the funding for the program, and that was referring to Pentagon budget for classified programs. There was another spot here. Again, scientists scared of being ostracized and stigmatized by the media. That's why they didn't want to cover it. That's good that they got this in this article. Like I said, how big is the New York Times anymore? Again, this is released on a Saturday. Had it been a Monday or Tuesday, people would be reading this on their lunch break. Okay, so Mr. Elizondo, okay, in his resignation letter to Mr. Mattis, he said there remains a vital need to discern capabilities and intent of these phenomena for the benefit of the armed forces and the nation. Mr. Elizondo has now joined Mr. Puthoff and another former Defense Department official, Christopher Mellon, who is Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Defense for Intelligence, in a new commercial venture called To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. They're speaking publicly about their efforts as their venture aims to raise money into UFOs. So there we go again with the investment portion of that. Mr. Elizondo said he and his government colleagues had determined that the phenomenon they had studied did not seem to originate from any country. The fact is not something any government or institution should classify in order to keep secret from the people, he said. So good, yeah, if his intentions are clear, maybe he was one of the people holding this stuff back, but maybe he's changed and flipped the coin and he's, we got to give amnesty to these people. If that's what it takes to get this stuff out, I'm kind of for that, but let's make sure this gets out and not manipulated by dark government forces. The former majority leader here, Mr. Reed, he said he did not know where the objects had come from. If anyone says they have the answers now, they're fooling themselves. We do not know. Sure. This stuff has been so studied out. They know about all this stuff. They have aliens living on government bases. They know about this stuff. So there you go, folks. Yeah, I want bigger stuff, but if we got to slow this down for the public, I guess, whatever. All right, so I just typed in To the Stars Academy and I put past 24 hours. Again, this is Saturday night, about 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this stuff's starting to blow up on YouTube. I see reposts of the gimbal footage that he just released. Trying to look for some bigger news. Let's go to the news page here. Again, New York Times. Oh, Washington Post right here. Let's check this out. So here we go. Here's another one. Washington Post is now Washington Compost, I should say. But, you know, if it gets people talking, great. Whatever. So it's there. It's about all I'm seeing right now. I'm sure hopefully this hits the cycle next week. Pound it into people's heads a little bit. And I'm not saying that I endorse this, but I endorse disclosure. And if this gets us there, great. But just keep your eyes open because you guys are the ones that are in the know. We've been looking at this stuff. We know that there's going to be a stage false flag alien invasion. If they're ramping this up for that, be careful. Because they want to get more money for military arms, which is getting out of control already. I think get to a point where we can defend ourselves and then stop there. It's just overspending on this stuff. I almost forgot. There's one more video here. We didn't even get to that yet. It's just a shame that we kind of need a rock star to lead it to bring this stuff out. But it's like, what the hell, whatever. I'll fast forward through this, going through the HUD again. This one looks a little more. Ooh, turn that off, I guess. This one looks a little more realer to me. That's just obviously it's older. It just looks like it's more movement there, and maybe they, like I said, I don't know about any of this stuff. They probably had advanced technology to get out the shake or stabilization, if you will. So yeah, this is interesting. You know, is it mind-blowing to me? No. I'm sure it's not mind-blowing to you guys. But if it's for the public, because we know the public, you try to talk about this stuff, they can't handle it. And it locks on there. That's what that advanced locking is, or what the hell do they call it? There it goes off. See, now that one went off camera. Believable. It's, yeah. Advanced targeting forward looking infrared. So that's probably the reason the other one was so stabilized, because it's all, you know, just like with camera stabilization, you can get rid of a lot of that stuff. It just seemed like a little too... Like I said, I could Photoshop that in there. Not Photoshop myself. I could remake that and make something in Photoshop and not have it turn at all. It's pretty easy. But I'm not saying because I can recreate it, it's fake. It's just, it looks like it's stuck to the camera. But take it for what you will, folks. I mean, this is a step in the right direction. Great. Just be careful. Like I said, they're going to use that. Aliens are here to kill us. We've been warned about that so many times. And let's see what happens in the next weeks to come with this, because I'm really interested of how, you know, now that this is in the mainstream, how are they going to respond to that? It's Dan Hohlfeld signing off.